Hey guys, I finished the 6-week shock phase of vert shock, meaning I'm now on the final week. I've been testing my vertical every week and I seem to be at a sticking point of 24 inches, which is 61 centimeters. I've managed this in 4 of the last 5 weeks and the other week was only slightly below this. Since there's only 4 different workouts in the whole program and those have been covered before, in this update I'm going to talk about the vertical jump research. I've read through some interesting studies and I'm going to share what I found and give my thoughts on it. The first studies relate to being able to produce your highest jump in the test itself. Things like wearing stiff-soled shoes or compression shorts, which I do already, a faster descent into the jump phase, a warm-up consisting of 5 weighted jumps with 10% of your body weight, motivational self-talk, so think Ronnie Coleman, so talking out loud and saying, I'm going to jump really high, actually makes you jump a little bit higher. Stretching your hip flexors before, and finally jumping at an external target, which means if you see my jumps, I'm always just jumping up the wall. If I'd put something up there that I was reaching towards, I would probably jump a little bit higher. This actually fits in really well with Adam Folker's free PDF, which he calls Jumping Hacks. He talks about stretching your hip flexors before, descending quickly into the jump, wearing stiffer shoes, and hyping yourself up before you jump. So maybe he does know what he's talking about. So my retest was yesterday, but I just tried my vertical jump again today. I did a hip flexor stretch before it. I did that warm up with the 5 weighted jumps. I tightened my shoes. I don't have basketball shoes, but I tightened my trainers so that they were slightly less give in them. And I also hyped myself up before the jump. And with all of that, I managed 62 centimeters. So a gain of 1 centimeter, less than half an inch, slightly different from the 4 inches that he experienced in the PDF that he's written. Back to the research. One question a lot of people ask with this program is whether you should be doing weights at the same time. My impression is that the plyometrics itself has such a high demand on your central nervous system that even if you don't have muscle soreness, you're still tiring yourself out, so you don't need weights as well. That being said, one study showed that taking 3 weeks off of weights reduced peak power by 9%. So if, like me, you're someone who's stopping your weight training in order to do the plyometric program, you could find that you're losing power from lack of weights and you're also gaining it from the plyometric. So overall, you're only seeing a moderate improvement or none at all. A big part of jumping is producing enough force to get you off the ground, and one of the best equations for estimating peak power is by Harmon, and it looks something like this. So if I put in my best current vertical and my weight at the time of doing it, I get around 4,500 watts. Now, I've not touched a weight in 7 weeks, which is probably the longest I've gone without lifting since I started in 2002. Which is either impressive or really sad, depending on how you look at it. So if my body is used to lifting weights and I stop, even though I'm doing the plyometric program, I could lose some power. So if we assume I could be 5% more powerful if I was doing weights and I weighed the same, then that would put my vertical up around 64.5 centimeters, 25.5 inches. There was one study that showed that guys who were already active didn't improve their vertical jump after 4 or 7 weeks of training, but it did improve 4 weeks after the end of the program. Now, it's pure speculation, but it could be that they went back to their old training routines, so they boosted that loss in power on top of their plyometrics, saw them get a gain. In terms of whether lifting weights or doing a plyometric program produced the best results, weightlifting had a slight edge over the plyometrics, but both were significantly better than just doing a regular strength training program. They found that power clean had the highest correlation with vertical jump. That was only when you included relation to body weight. And one of the weakest correlations was a standard squat. Gains in jump height averaged 10 or 11% improvement after 6 to 8 weeks, but most of that training was just 2 times a week, whereas vert shock is 4 or 5 times a week, so you'd expect it to be a little bit better. In fact, if you take 11% higher than my initial jump, you actually get 24 inches, which is where I'm at now. A few studies found that the jump squat was comparable in results to doing one of the Olympic lifts, And since the jump squat is easier to learn, it's probably better to put that in a program involved in weight training. You also want to look at peak power, which is important. If you're untrained, that's around 10% of your maximal lift. And for people who regularly lift weights, that's going to be closer to 30 to 40% of what your max is. If I were to make a twice weekly program in the gym, based on the research I've looked at, it would be something like this. So 3 sets of 6 jump squats with 30% of my max, so that would be about 40 kilos for me. 5 sets of 3 power cleans, 80% of max, which is about 70 kilos. And then 4 sets of 6 half squats. A half squat is to 90-degree knee flexion. That would be 80% of my max, so I think that's around 110 kilos. I'd also put depth jumps at the beginning of the workout. That was one of the key plyometric exercises for gains in vertical height. They think that's down to being able to handle the high forces involved in depth jumps. On the subject of plyometric exercises, they found movements in the frontal plane, which is side to side, produced no improvement in vertical jump height. But if you're in a sport where you're doing lots of changing in direction, then it's probably still worth keeping those exercises in. One final thing, body weight. I'm 69 kilos, I'm quite lean. If you take 2 of the equations for peak power and you assume that your power stays the same as you lose weight, then a gain of 1 centimeter would be relating to losing about 1.5 kilos in weight. In inches, that would be a ½ inch relating to 4 pounds in weight loss. So if you're overweight, that could be a good strategy as long as you can maintain your power. But if you're already lean, then it's not something you should worry about. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you like the research. Once I've finished VertShock, I'm actually going to do a 6-week weightlifting program to see what impact that has on my vert, because I really want to see how high I can jump. Cheers.